Welcome to the Ignatius Press podcast. My name is Ben Erickson, the podcast manager here at Ignatius Press, and today's episode will be a bit different. Recently, the Ignatius Press team had the honor of sitting down with Michael O'Brien in person, and today we'll show you some of those clips as a precursor to some exciting announcements that we have in store this summer. Michael O'Brien is a well-known painter and iconographer, as well as one of our best-selling novelists. Having written over 30 books that have been translated into 13 languages, Michael O'Brien has been leading readers to encounter truth and beauty through his engaging writing and riveting storytelling. In today's episode, we'll give you a bit of Michael O'Brien's personal history, as well as his reflections on the purpose and power of art in the modern world. We hope you enjoy this episode, and please subscribe to Ignatius Press Podcast so you don't miss our future episodes. When did you decide to become a writer?
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say, when was it? 77, I think. My wife and I had moved to Ottawa, and I had obtained a painting studio in a Dominican monastery that had many of they didn't have vocations, so there were floors and floors of the friars' cells that were empty. So the prior rented me one of the cells where I went to work every day and painted and had daily mass with the fathers. It was a very beautiful few years. We did that, I did that. And as in the first year, as I was painting and just feeling, oh, this is awesome, what a gift from God, perfect environment, the graces are flowing, the creativity's flowing, suddenly a big surprise happened. Into my mind and imagination, there sprang a story that was so dramatic and was so gripping in my imagination that I thought it was a distraction from the enemy, from my icon painting. So I kept pushing it away, and it was unfolding like 3 dimensions in my imaginations. Some almost audio, almost visual, but very like, where is this coming from? And it was a great story, a beautiful story, but I thought it was a distraction. So a few months into this story that kept unraveling every day when I should be painting, I said to myself, listen, I've got to get this out of my head. I'm going to write it down. So whenever I had a few spare moments, I wrote it down so that I could get it out of my mind, done, and get back to my primary calling as a visual artist and iconographer. Well, that first novel was called A Cry of Stone. How many years later? 20-some years later, it was published. Other novels started to flow from it, all overtly Catholic, unpublishable in the contemporary cultural war. I did send the manuscript and further other manuscripts of other books I wrote to many publishers here in Canada. Invariably, they would write back, we love the writing, we love your story, we'd be very happy to publish you. However, you must understand that the reading public is no longer interested in this worldview, your religious worldview. If you would resubmit the manuscript without the religious worldview, or revise it to a more contemporary version of Christianity or Catholicism. In other words, corrupt it, mutate it. So in my heart of hearts, I and with the help of grace, I thought, oh boy, this is how they win. And I don't mean human agents. I mean, this is how the enemy in his great war against mankind works through culture. He corrupts, he weakens, he rewards for compromise, he punishes fidelity. Okay. But God's grace is greater than that. So, deep within myself was the certainty that I must continue to write novels that would never be published. None of them. But at least I thought, and it came in prayer. There was a great deal of prayer and a great deal of peace about this. I'm not going to compromise. I'm not going to correct my child. And that's going to mean a cost. It means my work does not do the good it could do in the world. However, I was here. I showed up. I was present. I did my part. And if there was no place for me in this world, that's none of my business. It's not my business. My business is to be faithful to the gift that was given to me. So, 19 years before writing my first novel and the publication of my first novel, collecting a stack of rejection letters, until finally Ignatius Press stumbled across one of my manuscripts, and the rest is history. They took a great risk. Father Fessio, the publisher, said to me, well, I don't know if we'll sell any copies of this book, maybe 1 or 2 or 6 or more, but we believe it should be out there. So they were willing to take the risk. And it became a bestseller by our standards. And then there's been 17 other novels. 17 total novels now, and translated into 13 languages, 14 if you consider English as well. And I look at this and I say, whoa, how did this happen? How did this happen? And that I think gifted young people must ask themselves. Don't feel you have to make a success of yourself. It's not your business. Your business is to grow as an artist and to pray for the grace to become the best artist you possibly can.
What is the purpose and power of the novel in the modern world?
The human imagination is created, it's part of the image and likeness of God in us, created to make a space in our interior life, to envision, to see invisible realities. Some of those components make theater in our imagination, and the components are taken from real life. Sometimes that inner theater, if you will, has characters and dramas enacted on it, prompted by ill spirits. Other times there are promptings from the Holy Spirit and the holy angels, assisting us to envision invisible realities or incarnate forms of the good, and to draw us towards the good, to teach, to impart wisdom. So I would say a good novel, any good literature, whether explicitly Christian or implicitly true and beautiful, is drawing us towards the ultimate good, our own being, and the ultimate good for the future of mankind. We tell stories to impart wisdom. We tell stories also to prompt in the minds and imaginations of our readers an understanding of the good, or be an expansion of the understanding of the good, an increased understanding of the beauty of mankind, the beauty of the human story, the human drama in all its vast varieties, to help our readers to fall in love with what is good in the characters, and thereby come to understand their own personal story more completely. Okay. Also, the novel, if it's faithful to reality, is also going to be revealing how we human beings are deceived, how we get deceived and how we deceive ourselves when we are driven by our tiny dynamic wills. A true story, I think, fills us with awe and wonder on some level. Now, as a Catholic writer, not all my novels are explicitly Catholic. I think catechetical novels tend to fail as art if their primary goal is to just preach. Okay, good art will incarnate a truth. It will make it a kind of living reality for the reader that expands his understanding and his love. So a Catholic writer of fiction has to be very busy about developing technical skill as a writer, but also praying for the integration of grace and natural talent. And so it's a very big responsibility before God and before man, but I'd be telling a true story beautifully.
How do you write Christian novels that are not overly preachy or forced?
Good question. No, I discerned very early on that my particular task, is to write overtly Christian novels, Catholic novels. And I also learned very early on that when I stop praying for the good of the work itself and the good of my readers, the writing process for me becomes sluggish. The inspirations aren't there. I mean, I have a certain natural talent, so I can write okay stuff. I can write good stuff. But when I am praying, regardless of if I feel nothing, doesn't matter. If I'm praying, the inspirations start to flow. And the actual physical process of writing is much, much easier for me. Okay, so that's not quite answering your question. To answer your question, the process for me is always intuitive. And very, very often, the genesis of one of my novels begins while I'm praying before the Blessed Sacrament. And sometimes the exposed Blessed Sacrament. There'll be an image arises in my mind, and I'll think, where does that come from? And I'm not thinking about writing. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just praying. But suddenly, whoa, there it is. And sometimes it's what I call a logos, or a core meaning that has no form, no shape, no incarnate flesh to it, so to speak. But it has a kind of an anointing, an anointed sense. This is being given to you. Now, take it, pray, and give it a form. So I begin praying. Now, I don't just dash off to my desk and pen and start outpouring. I pray. And I keep praying during the whole creative process as the novel unfolds, as it begins to take shape as a form, but also in its details. Okay. As I said, I'm an intuitive writer. Other writers are rational writers. They will map out a novel. They will have a concept. They will map out a novel in great detail and then go through it step by step by step. And that's a perfectly legitimate way to write a novel. And it can be done with grace as well, with prayer as well. That's fine. I work best intuitively. I pour out everything it's just like an artesian well. I get it done on paper for 10 months, a year that it takes to get it done on paper. And now in my later years, of course, I'm doing a little editing of myself as I go along every day. I'm refining. But at the end of that period of the basic composition, I have a first draft. Okay. Now, if I rest content with that beloved, beautiful little first draft, I'm an idiot. That's I'm too close to it. So I've got to have a little space. I give it a little space, pray about it, months, don't look at it. I give it to my wife, who's a very, very good editor and puts up with none of my nonsense, none of my mannerisms or self-indulgences. She's a terrifically honest editor. And then we go through the manuscript together and edit it. Then one of my sons is an extraordinarily fine editor himself. And he goes through it with me again, and they're finding different things. All the while it's tightening up. So let's say I have a third or fourth draft here. I reread it again and again. Intuition is a powerful, powerful stuff. But God has also given us reason. We are rational people as well. So I must now, objectively as objectively as I can be, start to apply my reason to my draft, my latest draft. See, okay, what are you saying here? What's weak here? Okay, what is overwriting? What is underwritten? And so forth. So it's the rational and the intuitive work together. Personally, I work best with the artesian well first.